to the notion that we might be I think we're on.
Yeah, we're on. It looks like we've gone live. So
Let's start.
yeah, let's restart.
And good morning.
So
good evening. Good morning. Good evening.
Good morning. So we'd like to welcome the amazing Mohini Dey. For all of you that don't know who she is has played with Zakir Hussain, Steve Vai, Marco Minimum.
Oh boy, and
so
Ranjit Barot, Gino Banks. You actually jammed with Tina Guo and Alex Skolnick from Testament. So your notoriety has really spread quite a bit. It kind of exploded internationally.
You know what's funny is just yesterday I was sending out my updated bio to somebody, and I sometimes forget how many people I've played with because I've been in this industry for 16 years now, you know, and I feel old in my head already saying that, you know, because I've done so much work, I sometimes forget who I've played with. So people around me, I sometimes call them and I'm like, who did I play with that month? Do you remember? Like who are the other people, or what are the projects that I played on? Because I know I did something. and then I was going through my list, and there were a bunch of people like, you know, Dave Weckl, Stuart Hand, Stanley Clark, Victor, and all these idols that I grew up listening to, you know. And it was an overwhelming moment for me yesterday when I was reading all those names, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And right now I'm working on some of the projects of my clients, and I've been given responsibility of almost co-writing their songs, you know, and some of the songs, Vinnie Colaiuta is on it, and Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Chad is on it. And it's just so exciting. Life is, you know, really good right now. And this past week, I worked on over 10 projects, you know, and this coming week, I have like 6 projects to work on now. So I know a lot of people are like, you know, this pandemic is so depressing and everything. I get it, totally get it. And I was depressed too at one point, and we're under lockdown in Mumbai, you know, but I'm just so happy at this point in my life being able to work, and so fortunate to have been getting all these interesting projects. And just throughout my whole journey, I've been really blessed to have worked with some of the finest people, you know.
You really have. I mean, you've worked with incredible people, but that being said, you are an incredible musician.
And thank you so much.
Why you're working with these incredible people.
Thank you so much.
That means a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
I think, well, some people who tune in, a lot of the musicians who might tune in and might see this later, know your story. There's so much to get to. And what I was going to say is you were born into a musical family. Your father, Sujoy, your mom, Romia, you have a sister, Esani, and all of you guys are just incredibly talented. You were given a bass at 3, right? Your father and you started playing professionally at 10. The reason I'm giving this backstory is because just before we went on, I was a little almost reluctant to ask you about this, but now, as you said, the caste system played something of a role in your background, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit of your backstory with that as a context, because that's very interesting.
Right. I mean, it still exists in some parts of the world, you know. And I know people, friends who are still having to deal with those things, and it's hard for them to keep happy, to keep people from both the worlds happy, your family and then the outside world, and not having to compromise with your dreams. It's hard, you know. Who are you going to keep happy, yourself or your parents? If they're not in support of what you want to do, what are you going to do? It's a tough situation. My parents, when they wanted to get married, their love was so strong, and they had a strong vision in life. They wanted to do something in life, you know. They were both musicians, and they were both creative people, and they were very advanced, you know, in their thinking, and their parents weren't, and they wanted something else from life, which obviously did not fulfill their parents' demands and wants. So they moved out of the city, and they got married, and they had me. And of course, it was very, very tough for my dad to take care of mom, having nothing. because he had to start from zero. He had I think 50 rupees in his pocket when he came to Mumbai. And that time, I don't remember the year, but just a couple of years before I was born, 1996, that time 50 rupees was very, very less, but still a little more than what it is now. He had to start from zero. He started making connections here, and he started playing with jazz bands out here in Mumbai. And when he was in Calcutta, Ranjit uncle had come with his band to Calcutta to perform there. And he met my dad through that concert. And during the sound check, my dad hopped on stage, and they just got into a conversation. And that time, Carl Peters, another bass player from Mumbai, was playing with Ranjit uncle. And Uncle Carl said, "Hey, Joy," to my father, he said, "Why don't you play something?" And he started playing. And that's how Ranjit uncle got to hear my dad's playing. And then uncle said, "Hey, Joy, you should come to Mumbai." And that kind of stayed with my father. And when he found the love of his life, my mother, they got married there, and they moved to the city just because uncle had told him that, "I want to play with you, so please come to Mumbai." I was never in the picture. They just became good friends because of that statement he had made, because my father wanted to play with the Ranjit uncle and other people in the music industry, because the music industry was always really good in Mumbai. And the Bollywood industry is so big from so many years. And so he moved out here, and my mom and dad, they used to live as a paying guest at somebody else's place. And then they would go to hospitals and eat that food to save money. Whatever they would make, they'd save, they would invest. And then after a couple of years, they bought their house after they had me. But there were really tough times. I remember my dad telling me, after I started becoming wiser a little bit, and my dad telling me that, just to feed me, they would sometimes pick food out of the garbage bin and eat that and feed me good food so I can be fed 3 times a day. And they would eat once a day and work their asses off to give me the life that they thought I deserved. Every parent wants that. And now look, we're here. I have a studio, I have a house of myself, and we have 3 other houses here. And life just changes with choices and decisions. And my father always said that, I brought a lot of happiness to the family, and I brought a lot of wealth in the family, and I'm his diamond. And I was like, okay, cool, that's great.
Well, it sounds as if you're going to have 2 careers simultaneous to playing bass. That could be fashion designer, so you could take that back up again, and motivational speaker. So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
it's a very inspiring story. When hopefully more people will be able to hear.
I don't think a lot of people know that fashion side of mine. Of course, they've seen my stage outfits and everything, but not a lot of people know that I stitch them and I design them. Most of my stage outfits are. So yeah, I've always wanted to become a fashion designer. It was very late in my musical career that I decided that, oh, okay, this is something that I want to do. I was still trying to get into a fashion college. I'd applied for a fashion college, got selected. And then after I completed my 12th board exams, I had 3 golden opportunities. One is become a part of A.R Rahman's band. I had gotten a call from his band, from his team, saying that, would you be interested in being a part of his band and do a Coke Studio episode for MTV channel. So that was a golden opportunity. And then around the same time, I also had gotten offered a full scholarship by Berklee College of Music. And the third one was fashion designing, which was really close to my heart. But by that time, I was already playing with so many people. And my dad told me that, you've invested so much of hard work behind music. Why don't you do this? And on the side, you can always do the fashion thing that is close to your heart. You can always do that. But these type of opportunities don't come back again. So I became a part of A.R Rahman's band. And now it's been 8.5 years that I've been working with him, played on a lot of movies of his, private projects, and live gigs, of course. And that opened me a lot of doors. Yeah.
That
Well,
was good advice of your dad, because when things are happening, we all tend to think, oh, they're going to just keep happening forever. And sometimes
Yeah.
that's not the case. So you just, when the wave is happening, you have to ride it. And
but you also have
Yeah.
the benefit
Yeah.
of people seeing you in these outfits, being able to see your, not just hear your work, see your work.
Correct.
yeah,
And
And
today's world is all about that, I think. I think it's not just about talent. I think it's about the visual experience plus the talent, you know,
absolutely.
well, you know what's
50-50.
so interesting about that is that I think in the era that, say, Lisa and I come from, because we're obviously old, little older, a lot older, a little older than you are, people would tend to take one route, you know, they would tend to take one path. And what I've seen now is that there are one friend of mine who I went to high school with, his son has become a fairly well-known composer in this area, and he was an accomplished cellist, accomplished jazz and classical pianist, and a accomplished guitarist. So there's a three very kind of distinct disciplines
Yeah.
within music. So it makes me think that people can carry, especially in this era with all the technology, you can study a lot. You have instant access, like you in Mumbai, you can be watching Jocko, you can be watching Matthew Garrison, you at a very young age, you can begin
Yeah.
to pull these
I
things.
think I was very fortunate and lucky to have experienced both the worlds though, because when I started learning the bass, there was no internet and no computer in my house, you know. I didn't even, in my school also, there were no computers. There was nothing like internet that time.
But, but it
So
seemed like, oh, go ahead.
sorry.
No, it seemed like your dad showed you all these different areas, introduced you to that, the different.
Oh, he still doesn't know how to use the internet properly. He did.
Oh no,
He
I don't
did.
mean the internet culturally.
Like musically and culturally, like this is funk, this you were listening to
Oh
all.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, totally, totally. Yeah.
Well,
What he would do is he would put CDs. You know, back in the days we had CD players and like those Walkmans and stuff. You know, and cassette players. So we would listen to music through cassette players. And after some time, he got like this DVD player, and we would put CDs. He would put CDs, and after I would return home from school hours, I'd see Jacko on the TV, or I'd see like Dennis Chambers playing the drums, or you know, many other bass players, Michael Mandarin, Abraham Laboriel, blah, 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 you know. And I was always surrounded by music. He made sure that music was always playing in the house. When I'm having breakfast, you know, my dolls as a kid, you know, he'd make sure that music is playing. So
Great. What a great way to grow up.
yeah.
you know
Yeah,
what
I think it's important to, it's like, you know, a plant needs a certain type of environment to grow a certain way. Otherwise, it would not grow beautifully or blossom beautifully, you know?
Yes,
The same way,
absolutely. And
yeah.
having that music and the art and your dad supporting that really nurtured
Absolutely.
you in that way. And
Yeah.
sounds like a very smart man.
Well,
Yeah.
before we move on to some of the things about your bass playing, I think it is important for listeners to be aware that you have some very strong musical genes on both sides. Your father is a little more prominent in the story because of his bass playing and some of the people that he introduced you to. But one of your
Mm.
most striking videos amongst the many videos you have is of you doing a duet with your mom on
Oh,
on a
yeah.
Bollywood
Yeah.
song,
Yeah.
and you sing as well. You sing beautifully. So
Right.
it struck me that it struck both of us that you not only do you have a very rich tradition on both sides, but you know, vocalists will approach something different necessarily than an instrumentalist will.
Right. I
And
don't
you're-
have the techniques of vocal. I've never taken vocal lessons. I just like to sing, so I do it sometimes just as for fun, you know. My mom is an amazing singer. I wish I
Yeah.
could sing like her. She has those techniques on point. But I've tried taking vocal lessons like a couple of months ago, and there's this singer, she's amazing, called Prasanna out here in Mumbai, and I've always loved you know, her voice. She has like a very versatile approach, and she's got that very gospelish way of singing, and I love that kind of approach. And she has the techniques where you're not losing any stamina and not pressuring on the vocal cords, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's just like certain types of techniques that you use to play certain type of things on the bass,
Sure.
and it's just, for me, it's so hard to do it with vocal cords because I can't feel them, at least the bass, I can feel it. But
Yes.
yeah, it's just funny. Yeah. But yeah, I love singing, and I do it just out of fun and love. And unknowingly, I happen to represent my mother's singer side through me by doing that. Um, and of course, bass happened because of my father. I don't know if my father was not in the picture, if I would have been playing bass or not.
Sure. You grew up with it and he inspired you by being around all the time playing.
Yeah.
But what the thing with that video that you did with your mom that was so interesting is that she was singing very traditionally and you were
Yeah.
accompanying her in such a modern
With
way.
jazz harmonies. Yeah.
And she was just sang right along with that, just with what she
Yeah.
did, and but it blended so beautifully, and I
Absolutely. Yeah.
love
When I
that.
pitched her that idea, because I hear her every day, when I go over to my parents' house, I see her sing and everything. I'm like, hey mom, why don't we do like a duo video? Because I've been getting like a lot of messages from my fans saying that, hey, why don't you do a video with your mom? And I was like, hey, why didn't I do that back in the days? So I was like, okay, it's time, let's do it. And I was like, what is your favorite song? So that was one of her favorite songs. And I was like, okay, let me work out some nice arrangement for it. And we tried it, we rehearsed it a couple of times, and then we just went for it. And she sang so beautifully. And it's really hard to sing over those changes.
Yeah, that's what I noticed, and she didn't falter no matter where you went. She was just
Yeah.
there.
She
It
was bam. Yeah. Yeah.
This leads to kind of the next thing I wanted to ask you, which I thought was so interesting. Um, I think Liza comes from a classical guitar background to go and play bass. I very much consider myself a blues oriented person, and from those bases, then you go. At least in my case, you listen to world music. I'm a Peruvian descent, so I've listened to a lot of Latin American music, and that forms
Wow.
a bit of a foundation of what I do and what we do. And
Right.
Lisa obviously brings the classic guitar, but she loves Joni Mitchell and Led Zeppelin and John Dowland,
A whole variety
a whole
of
variety of
different
things.
people.
Right.
You have formidable technique that is grounded a little bit in a Carnatic foundation, and you have a
Right.
video where you're kind of applying the 4-syllable rhythm, the 3-syllable rhythm, and you go through that. And for people here, if you could talk a little bit about how that, as much as Victor Wooten, as much as Bollywood, as much as anything, is a foundation of what you do, because it's an amazing place to come from. It's really, and the way you broke it down was so intriguing.
Right. So when I started playing with Ranjit Uncle, what I realized was internally that I was super weak. When a bass player, super weak.
Oh,
I was only 13, back then, when I just started playing with him. He was really blown away that I could play like that at that age. But I personally knew in my head that I could get so much better with my stamina, with the saving energy, with my technique, with my harmonic theory, all those things. We all get better every day. But the fact that I realized that at that age, and I knew in my head that I sound weak, and when I'm put right next to a drummer, and of course Ranjit Uncle is like, he's always been a beast drummer, and to start with, playing with Ranjit Uncle is like, oh my God, he's never gonna show you the one in a way, but it's like kick in the ass, it's like bam, it's like pushing hard, really, really pushing hard at first. So that was really, really tough. But it built a strong foundation. That's how my time got really, really strong, because he wouldn't show the one anytime, and I would have to be the backbone behind him, holding the groove down no matter what he's doing on top, and his songs, when I started playing his songs, all his songs are like, I have polyrhythmic structures, 9/8, 11/8, 13 and a half, 11 and a half, imagine soloing over those time signatures. It's crazy,
Yeah.
But when I think about it now, it's like, yeah, it's cool. I've done that. I can do that, because I've done that so much at that age, Now I want to just chill and play in 4/4, 5. My favorite time signature is 7.5.
Really?
So yeah, I love it.
Wow.
So
And you're the
yeah,
first person to ever say that to me.
yeah, odd, but yeah, 7 and 7.5. It's really fun. I love grooving in those time signatures. But yeah, that's how my time became really, really strong. And then the more I started playing with him, I those live gigs that I did with him opened to me many, many doors. Like I started playing with Uncle Louis Banks. I started playing with a lot of Carnatic musicians, like you mentioned, from the South. And I started traveling to Chennai, another city. And there I see a bunch of like these percussive instruments like mridangam, kanjira, morsing, ghatam, udu, all these very exotic instruments, that I'd never heard before. Drums was the only instrument that I, heard. And then to hear all these amazing exotic instruments, and these sounds were really, really amazing to me. And they could do so many in between intricate things. And I saw them do konakola, and that was like mind blowing. And I was like, I want to do that, but I want to do that on bass, and I want to sound stronger with a drummer. So in my head, I had already kind of like started to work on konako. When I started playing with these musicians, I would hear them do all those things, and I would ask them, or even sometimes record it with my like little like a recorder. No, I didn't have a phone that time, but like a recorder thingy that my dad had bought for me. And then I would record it on that recorder and then ask them, so how did you do that? Can you explain the mathematics behind this, And they'd explain to me, and then I'd learn it and then go home and start practicing those, it's like hard, all those little things, So to do that, yeah. So all those intricate triplet and quintuplets, those are hard to do with vocal abilities. And so I had to really practice those things to get it, and then to get it on the bass, that requires another type of practice, right? So then I saw Victor Wooten, and some of his techniques really helped me explore in a way where I could kind of train myself to play quintuplets in my way, but not like take inspiration from Victor's techniques. But while I was practicing those techniques, I figured out other ways to do it. The same things.
So made it your own.
Yeah, made it my own. But sometimes like how you practice and then you make mistakes, and then the mistake becomes like, oh wow, that is not a mistake.
One
So,
thing I heard a little bit is the kind of the flamenco slap. I guess he used to call it the flamenco slap. And you've taken kind of another level, kind of, he mixes it with the slap. You also mix it with the slap.
Yeah, he uses a lot of up thumb technique, right? And back then my up thumb technique was not that strong. So I started including my 3 fingers on the left hand to replicate that sound, to duplicate that sound. And it worked just fine. And now that my thumb is really strong, my up thumb technique is like, flowing like a river. So it's like fine. I don't even need to practice. Back then I used to have to warm up a lot before being able to do that in a gig. I'd be nervous. But now I'm like, I take the bass and I'm good to go, but yeah, that's how I kind of started building different types of possibilities of doing different types of rhythmic structures, so like terekita takida. If you say terekita takida going to America, they'll be like, sorry, what? And that time I started traveling to US too, and I started playing with people like Pliny, Marco Miniman, Jordan Rudess, and went to Bali, Deva Bujana, and so many other people. And when I went there and I saw their approach towards music, it was completely different, And I was like, wow, this is kind of fun because they think so differently and I think so differently, but we still meet at the same point,
This leads so interestingly into the next point, if you'll allow me to kind of construct this. You were talking about Ranjit, and his influence on you, and you brought him up when Liza and I first saw him, which was only 3 years ago, playing behind John McLaughlin. We both had the same observation. It's like, look at how relaxed that guy is. He's like
Yeah.
barely moving. He's
incredible.
like a storm, but a very controlled
Controlled.
Storm.
and relaxed
Yeah.
storm.
Yeah.
And then we saw you play with Purbayan Chatterjee.
Yeah.
And he's very, very passionate, but you were much younger in that clip, but everybody on the stage,
Yeah.
Gino Banks, was so controlled. I was like, is
Yeah.
that something that's Indian musician where everybody is super relaxed, where it's not the minimum amount of energy expended, but it's very economical and still so explosive. And that leads also into talking about Marco Minimum, because there's a video of you doing some of where he's learning the Carnatic thing from you,
Right.
and you're sitting there counting with your hand.
I think
It's amazing.
I think part of it is because we know our music so well, and we don't rehearse, and we allow a lot of room for freedom, and in at least the bands that I've played in the US, they like their things to have a structure. Like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and then you're gonna take a solo, and it's structured, it's scripted. But here, we sometimes don't do rehearsals. We just send out charts, we send out each other's music, and be like, okay, this is the show date. We'll just go through the heads in the sound check, and then we'll call out solos. So that's it. So we just come on stage, we do our sound check, run through the heads, make sure the stabs are right, and everybody's really talented, and they're good at their job, and so we don't have to rehearse that much. We go like 1 or 2 times over the heads, and that's it. It'll take like 2 to 3 hours, and that's it. We rest for like 5 hours before the show, and then at 10 p.m. we go on stage, we run the song, like we play the songs, and then Ranjit uncle or somebody, whoever's song it is, will be like, we'll just look at each other and be like, okay, you take a solo or you take a solo, and then we'll just go for it. Nobody knows what's coming up, but I think that allows a lot more freedom to be more creative, and that's when the foundation kicks in, shows how much you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you found that some of the Western musicians you're jamming with are open to those approaches? And Marco Minimum can play anything. Steve
Marco can play anything. Yeah, Marco is so organized, but yet has a lot of, like, he loves having fun. He's so talented and he's so educated musically that you throw him in any type of environment and he's good to go. He's got both the worlds. He can do scripted stuff, he can do structured stuff, but he can also do, he can kill it in a on the spot jam session. And then other musician that I really think of has that type of chops is like Guthrie Govan. He's amazing. Like, you throw him in an environment without any rehearsals or no songs. Like, I've done like 3 tours with him so far, and every tour has been a bliss. We've done Japan tour, we've done India tour, and we've done 2 India tours. So every time I played with him, it was so magical, and sometimes he'd be like, okay, let's not do this song today, we'll just jam, and then he'll play something, we'll follow, and some melody will come out. And that can only happen when people can read each other's mind and have conversation musically through their instruments.
Absolutely.
Otherwise it's not possible.
In the context of Western musicians that might have come before, I was curious, just me personally, if you're familiar with Sean Lane or Jonas Hellborg. Those guys?
Hellborg, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because I think of Sean, who is an amazing guitar player, did some tours here, did some touring there in India in the latter period of his life, really took it upon himself to learn the Indian traditions, as did John McLaughlin, and now Ranjit's playing with him. So those, I guess, would be some of the first Western musicians that you had any kind of regular contact with or observation of, or was it more like the bass players like Victor Wooten or
I think the bass players that I looked up to as a kid growing up were people like, of course, Victor Wooten, Jaco Pastorius, Abraham Laborio, Michael Mandarin, John Patitucci. Who else? There's so many names, but yeah, many of those, and a lot of drummers actually, like Carter Buford, Dennis Chambers, Vinny, a lot of rock drummers also, and then Chad Wackerman, like mix of drummers, mix of percussion players, of course Johnny Mitchell,
Yeah.
a lot of big bands. Oh, Mark King, Level 42.
One of my
um,
favorites. I
Lisa's
yeah,
love him.
you know,
And also,
my favorite too.
Abraham Laboriel was such an influence on me. I know your technique, a lot of your slap technique, I notice is similar to his. You utilize a lot of the upstroke, and he utilizes a lot of the flamenco technique. But I also
And
see
the palm slide as well. Yeah.
incredible, and
Yeah.
he's so inspiring to me, not only as a player but the energy that comes off of him off stage. I used to just love to go down to
Yeah.
the potato or wherever and see him
Yeah. I
live.
had an overwhelming and emotional moment last year. Was it last year? Yeah, I think it was last year when I was playing at Bass Bash, and John Patitucci was playing on the same stage, and Abraham Laborio was playing on the same stage. Reggie was playing on the same stage. And it was like, for me, it was like, these are the people that I've grown up seeing on TV, through my CDs. And I'm playing on the same stage. And after me, there is these people. I'm like, what's going on? I'm living my dream. It was almost like I was dreaming. Yeah.
That's
I
so great.
remember in an interview with Nora Jones, hearing her talk about and saying the same thing when she was getting her Grammy. And she was saying, I'm here with all my idols. She said, it's just like, this is just unreal to me. So I can
Yeah, it
imagine.
was really unreal. Yeah.
Switching gears just a second. We wanted to say congratulations on getting married. You got married
Thank
recently.
you so much.
And you married a fellow musician, someone who appears to spend time between Los Angeles and Mumbai.
Correct.
And
He did the horn arrangements on your solo album. I heard one song that Steve played.
Yeah, it was a single. Yeah. I'm still yet to release so many other songs. Yeah. I just, what happens is most of the time I'm like swamped with other people projects, and I put them first. So
Sure.
then my stuff just gets left.
yes,
But yes, Mark did some of the horn arrangements for my songs, and some of the parts I had already written out. But his take on the song just made it so sparkly. And of course, Steve's take, his solo, and Jordan's synth parts and everything was just incredible. And Gino on drums, he's like my big brother. That was a song that I made in Japan when I was touring with the Japanese band Beast for 4.5 months. And yeah, I wanted to release it on my birthday after I came back, and I did that.
Well, it sounded great, but it sounded like you mixed the fusion, and yet your vocals sounded still very
Yes, yeah.
pop. So it's kind
Correct.
of very cool how you mix those two genres. It makes it very accessible for people that like pop music.
Yeah, I wanted it to be me. I didn't want to sound like anybody. I wanted it to be me. I know that I have a specific voice, and I believe everybody has a unique voice. And instead of, we all have inspirations and we all take things from different people. I have, so many techniques that I've taken from different idols, but at the end of the day, I fuse it all together in a way that it's my voice now. It's my sound. When people hear a song without my face, they can tell that, oh, that's Mohini on bass.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that's my fingers sound. That's my intention behind those, parts, that intention behind that specific sound that I'm going for, that tone, those improvisations. People can tell that's more.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Part of the thing asking you about getting married was that Mark. It seems he's American.
Yes, he's American.
So he's spending time in Mumbai, but does that mean that there are more plans for you to necessarily come to the United States? And in that context, what was your first impression of coming to the United States? What did you think?
Oh, coming. So it was never a plan. I mean, the way we happened, we started dating in lockdown through video calling. You know, he was in Chicago and I was here.
Wow.
And we met through Ranjit Uncle 4 years ago. We remained friends for 4 years. And then we were seeing other people throughout the 4 years. We never flirted with each other or nothing. We were just great professional friends and we would discuss life with each other. He was my best friend and I was his best friend. And we would talk about other people that we were seeing and we would take relationship advices from each other, you know, and we both failed in our life, you know, with that aspect. And then we ended up single together. And one day I was just like, you know, I've had these feelings for you for so long, but I never could tell you because you were seeing other people. And he has had feelings for me. I knew at the back of my mind, but he never told me because he's not that type of person. We're just not that people who would tell other people if they're in a relationship, you know?
Sure.
We don't want to ruin that, you know? So we waited for each other until we both were single. And then we were talking and I was just like, you know, this is a good time for me to say, otherwise who knows, maybe tomorrow there will be a girl, you know, I don't know. So let me just go ahead and say it because I know he's not going to say it because he respected me so much, you know. He still does, of course, but like, you know, that type of relationship, like where the guy is like, I respect you too much, I don't want to make that first move, you know. And
When relationship.
Yeah, he would have 4 years ago, actually. He would have made that first move 4 years ago, but I was seeing somebody and he had asked Ranjit Uncle if I was single. And Ranjit Uncle told him, stay away. She's like my daughter. She's seeing somebody. So it was that. So he shut his door after that, you know? Yeah. And then I would, yeah. And so, yeah, long story short, I told him how I felt about him. And then he was like, Mo, I feel the same way about you. We started dating on the 23rd of August last year and then dated for like 2-3 months. And then I went to Chicago, met his parents. Such an amazing family. We both felt like his mom and I felt like we know each other from a long time, you know, and we started playing cards. Went out to places, but of course it was locked down, so not many places, but like a couple of, you know, restaurants here and there. And then we spent a lot of time together. I came back to Mumbai and then Mark and I started purchasing a lot of things like air conditioner and wardrobes and stuff without even planning to get married. And then one day he was like, Mom, I want to get married to you. I was like, cool, let's do it. And that was it. And then he moved to Mumbai and met my family and we got registered last month and we just celebrated our 1-month anniversary on 9th of March. So yeah, that easy. Like couple of months of dating because you have to understand that we had such a beautiful foundation of friendship before that, you know. And that made a huge difference. So yeah, he's an incredible musician. I've had so much respect for his work that he does. And he has played with some of the finest people. He has played with, you know, he's gotten an opportunity to play with Stevie Wonder, Lady Gaga, and he has done so much work. He lived in LA for like 3 years, you know, so he did a lot of work there. And then when we started dating, to answer your question, he was like, you know, I've always wanted to be in India. And now that you're in Mumbai, it just makes it complete. I was like, you really want to move permanently to India? And he's like, yeah, I've always wanted to be in India. I was like, great, cool. So then he moved here and now and now he's here. And he's already started working here. Things are slow because of the lockdown, but there is no player like him in Mumbai. And I can happily say that he's like an asset here, you know?
Oh, well, that's perfect then to move to a place where you're needed. And
absolutely. He has so many students out here now. He's teaching them. He's teaching these young kids. And it's so wonderful to see that, you know?
That's nice.
We're going to be going just looking at some questions in just a minute as we come up to the 45 minute mark. I wanted to ask you, that's just all amazing. I wanted to see a little bit like your impression of the United States when you first came here. Was it like more than you thought.
So the
Let's see if
first time,
was
right,
NAMM.
the first, no, NAM was not the first time. My first time coming to the US was me touring with Mr. A.R Rahman. It was a 15 cities tour. It was in the northern part of America. And that was my first visit to US. And it was a tour with AR. How crazy is that? I think it was in 2014 or 2015. And it was very, very crazy. It was a crazy feeling. I've always wanted to go to the US because my dad used to travel to US for gigs and stuff, and he would get me like toys, and I would always tell him that, Dad, I want to go to the US, and Dad would say, you will, one day you will. And then that one day came, you know. So my dad was really emotional, and he was really scared too, so he cried that night before I left for US, you know. And he hugged me and he's like, are you going to be okay? I was like, yeah, Dad, it's fine. It's going to be fine. You know, that day has come to let your daughter go now, you know, it's going to be fine. And yeah, it was really emotional for me. But doing those gigs, after every gig, that satisfaction you get, that power you feel, that diva-like feeling, I mean, that's when I realized that that was missing in my life. And till today, I feel that diva-like feeling inside, and that sparkliness and that glitteriness. For people out here, why I say sparkliness, glitteriness, it's a way of my, you know, excited expression. Like, I love glitter. If you just get me a pack of glitter for my birthday or like to celebrate, I'm happy. Don't get me anything. Just give me glitter. I'm happy.
I saw that you
I
said
could sleep on glitter.
I saw that you said that you love your bling, and I love those really sparkly outfits you wear. And yeah,
Well-
absolutely. But when you do play, we as musicians are missing those applause. And I wanted to give you something because I know that you've been missing those applause. So
Oh, cool. Great. Awesome.
Right
Yeah,
back
I
at you.
miss my people. Yeah. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Well, you know what was really, there's another video of you at the NAMM show, which is you're all glittering. You're at the Mark bass booth.
Yes.
At one point, I was
Oh,
about
right.
5 feet from you when they
Oh,
shot that
wow.
video, and I'd
That's
heard
so crazy.
about you, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And it was like you were like very nice, but also with this just very shiny outfit, very bold in kind of an
Yeah.
effortless way. Like, here I am, I'm love, I'm good at what I do. Here it is, in a very non-arrogant way. So it struck us for sure. You know, it's like, wow, she is really
That's so
cool.
cool.
Are you-
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
there's
Yeah,
some
that's probably
questions,
time
and
to
we've
come over
just
to
got.
those.
sure.
So one of the questions is there a dream artist that you would like to play with that you have not played with yet?
Yeah, Bruno Mars.
I was wondering because I saw that in your sister was asking you that. I was watching the
Yeah.
The song, right? It's your
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
talented younger
And
sister.
that's a very unexpected answer from me, because I am like, you know, when it comes to playing, I'm like so different, and not many people expect that. But believe it or not, like in my lowest times and in my happiest times, I just listen to Bruno Mars, and it makes me so happy. And yeah, he's one person that I would really love to work with. Yeah.
well, I bet he would love to work with you too. I'm sure at
I
some
hope he
point
hears about me.
that will happen.
Well, while we look up another one, because we're coming to the end here, we'll look up another question, another few questions. A question
Go
you
ahead.
have another one?
Oh, yes, somebody else was saying that they saw one of the videos with you singing, and was asking if you were going to pursue singing more. I know we talked about that, but perhaps you didn't hear.
I mean, I have to be good before I pursue singing as a profession. Otherwise, I'll have to live on selling my autographs. You know, so let's go there. Yeah, let's not yet go there. Let me get better, then we'll think about it.
Well, you sound fabulous from what we've heard of you singing, so
That's very sweet. Yeah, but
very true. Let me check some other questions.
So we are both big Jocko fans, as you are.
yes.
And when I think of him, I think of not just amazing playing, but Teen Town, A Remark You Made, Liberty
Liberty
City,
City.
Three Views of a Secret, all of those things.
Yeah.
And so, I think most musicians always value the compositional thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, how important is that? Is that something like you've done Bollywood, you've done fusion, you've done pop? Is that something where eventually you want to be like, I want to be known as Mohini Dey composer? Is that like a goal you have too?
I'm already in that direction. I've always wanted to do music direction, actually. When I started recording bass for other clients and people from different parts of the world, like even now I have this whole setup here with my, preamps and my sound card and everything, my synths and station and all that. I started getting a lot of requests to write songs for them and to compose parts for them, or to make an interlude for them, because maybe when I record for my clients, the way I design my bass parts is very, how do I put it? When I form my bass grooves, or when I do my improvisations or create a part, it's almost like it makes a huge difference on the song. It not just does justice to the song, but also it gives a different direction to the song. And that's something I provide as an option for my clients. They don't necessarily have to use it, but I give three options. One is more laid back, one is more upfront, and one like totally different. If I think from my perspective, like if I was doing the song, then what I would do, so then I would lay down my creative ideation on there, and then just give it out there and then see what they have to say. And 90% of the time they've loved it, and they're like, oh, I want to change my music section to this, and I'm happy about that. I feel very happy. And that's why I've started getting a lot of proposals for writing songs for them now. Like today, I composed a music section for one of the metal songs for one of my metal clients. And yeah, I've never been a metalhead, but now I get a lot of proposals for metal projects. It's fun. It's challenging. I love it.
It is fun. And I think that's so important to be able to do that on the bass, because it can provide so much more than just the groove, but counter melodies. And like you say, just a more orchestrated part. And it makes
absolutely
the line so much more interesting.
I do programming too. So sometimes if I feel like, oh, the drummer could have played like a crash there and it would make a huge difference. Or if I make like a line that can be played in unison with a guitar or something. So then I would put it out there. I'd be like, hey, if you could play it on the guitar, it would make a huge difference. And they'll hear that and they'll be like, oh, you know what? This sounds amazing. And I'll do the extra stuff, like I'll program stuff and I'll put down like synth lines and stuff. So Mark gifted me this like bass station, and I've been doing so much work through this. I just love synth sounds, and I'm trying to figure out a way now so this is my goal for tonight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug my bass into this bass station and try to get the synth sound on the bass, so it's easy because I'm good at bass, but my fingers don't work the same on keys. And I don't know the notes on the keys, but I play it by ear, and I'm good at that. But those key movements are different. But I want to make my job easier, so I want to figure out a way to get those synth sounds on bass, so I can play on my bass, stick to bass, but get those sounds. So I'm going to do that. That's tonight's goal.
Have you experimented with MIDI bass? Have you had the opportunity to have pickups that actuate a synth?
Yes, I have had that opportunity. It's cool, but with my techniques, and I dig in so much, sometimes I'm overpowering.
It misreads it.
So it misreads everything. Sometimes my ideas come first, and it will read that before I wanted to read it.
Yeah, that's what I found too with guitars as well. And then you're cleaning up notes if you're trying to.
It's interesting. It's amazing that it can read before I wanted to read, but that's not what I wanted to do.
That's AI.
Yeah.
Read your thoughts.
part
Yeah.
of the underlying thought of creative exchange, which is this platform that SAS has created for teaching, is a little bit of the intersection of technology and
Right.
art and all that. And so for you, I mean, it kind of goes without saying, you're using Mark Bass, which is a very forward thinking company. You're using all this music software and so forth. I mean, your dad must marvel at the opportunities that you as a musician have that weren't available to him. You know,
Right. He
it
still
must be-
cannot record himself, and I try to teach him, but he's like, nah, too much work. You can record me. Yeah.
But do you
Yeah, he'll be like, I'll just come over, you can record me. I'm like,
Yeah.
babe, I mean, just learn. It's easy. Just try. But they're like so past that generation of bass players, they're just like, they don't want to do it. They're tired, you know?
They want to play and then leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I'm too old for this.
And you know what's funny with some people like that is that once they realize they can, then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, there's so many possibilities. Now I want to change
Yeah.
that. And then they never
No,
leave the studio.
Yeah, he's still like, there was this really funny situation, and this is going to be a really fun story for my audience out here now. So he didn't know, his English is not that great, okay? Now he knows and he can speak very well, understand everything. But like, I'm talking like a couple of years ago. So somebody wrote RIP and some name, okay? And it happened to be one of dad's like really old friends. And there was a picture of that guy, that friend, right? And he didn't know what's the meaning of RIP. So my dad commented saying, wow. I'm scrolling, I'm like, Dad, what did you say? Wow. And I called him right, and I was like, Dad, what did you say? Wow. It's a nice picture. And it's like, so I was like, wow, it's a nice picture. I was like, but the guy is dead. So it's really funny. We had, he has these like cute moments, and I enjoy that. And sometimes, like, when he comes to the studio and all, he'll see me like record and stuff. He'll sit by my side and he'll see like what I'm doing, but never ask like, so how do you do that? He'll never ask that because he doesn't want to get into that. If I start talking about it, he'll be like, I need a drink. You
Are-
know?
That's perfect. Are you a Pro Tools person, a Logic person? What platform are you using?
So I still use Nuendo and I use Cubase.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cubase.
Cubase,
Uh,
yeah.
And I assume you built the studio, right? So you have full microphones, full
Yeah.
everything. You are.
I could show you around, but the only problem is there is one confidential backdrop that I have right now, and it's going to be dropped next week. And that's why I've been doing all my shootings this way now. But otherwise, it's this way, me facing my workstation and the backdrop. But it's confidential right now, so I cannot show you the
Right.
studio right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, switching a little bit too as we begin to wind down. For us, at least, it seems you certainly come from a very strong musical tradition. There are certain, we talked a little bit about the caste system and how that was a situation that you came out of.
Yeah.
You talked with Steve Vai a little bit about some of your spiritual observations, and it seems to me that you cannot be an artist in coming out of where you come out of without some sort of spiritual considerations, or philosophical considerations. So do you consider yourself spiritual or religious, and in what way? You can elaborate a little bit on what you spoke of with Steve, you like whether you talk
Right.
about God or to a higher power or something like that. I thought it
Right.
would be interesting to hear your take.
Right. So I think I believe that, so I don't pray, okay, and I don't pray to any single God, as like I know like a lot of people praise the Jesus or praise Ganesh or like different types of gods, and that's their thing, and I respect them for that. Like my dad is very spiritual and religious at the same time, and he has all gods in his house, and I grew up reading the Hanuman Chalisa, and after shower I was told to pray and read all these like books, Mahabharata and all that stuff, and the way they brought us up, my parents brought me and my sister up, was the way their parents brought them up, right? So they tried to do those things to us. But the problem was, this is a new generation and we are rebellious, and we want to do the opposite things. And so when my parents told me that, no, you have to do this, in my head, it's like, bam, no, why do you have to do this? What will happen if I don't do this? So my dad was like, bad things will happen if you don't do this. Then you won't get work and then you won't be happy. Okay. So that's like a manipulative way of, trying to get your kids to do a thing, but it didn't work. I was so rebellious that I told Dad, I'm not going to pray and I'm not going to, do this stuff because I want to see if it actually does bad and if I stop getting work, So I stopped praying and I stopped showering also. So in my house, it was also a thing like you cannot have non-vegetarian food after you have shower on specific days. Like there are godly days like Saturday, Tuesday, there's specific, it's for like gods. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have non-veg food on those dates specifically. And I made sure I did that. And my dad got super angry and we started fighting and everything. And I was like, but I started getting a lot more work. Okay.
Now there's cause and effect right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, Dad, it's working for me, but in a good way, And he got so mad because for a dad, it's like daughter trying to talk back and all that. It's not happening. Like, that's not a good way, you're rude and everything. I was like, I'm sorry, but I can't do this. And I think this is working for me. But, I'm not going to be here trying to judge you because you do certain things, but that works for you and you believe so. So I respect that. But I think you should respect the way I do my life too. This is something that I want to design for myself. And if it works for me, it works for me, right? And people should be able to respect that because I'm not interfering in your ways of doing things and you're not interfering in my ways, right? I would expect you not to because I'm not going to speak about that. But I do believe that there is higher power and there is power within ourselves that we need to find. And some people can't find that. And so they depend on having faith in certain things. Say, like for Mark, he loves just speaking to a lighted candle, that brings him peace and he has faith in it. And he loves to write before he goes to sleep. So he'll write things before he goes to sleep, like, I did this today, this made me feel good today, and this is going to be my goal, and I feel these certain things, and blah, blah, blah. So this is like him taking out his feelings through that book. And so he has faith in that, and he has trust in that, right? I am a kind of person that I have not been able to give that much trust in something, so I don't depend on anything for it to change my mind, for it to change my ways of thinking, right? But Mark was this one and only person who was able to do it. His way of looking at life and his outlook towards things and the way he deals with things was something that was incredible. And like I said, I was never that type of person. Still, I'm not that type of person who easily gets like, okay, wow, okay, why did I never look at that direction? Or why did I not look at that direction from that aspect, And when talking about life and human anatomy and all these things, energies and, our universe and nature and how energies connect and everything, I saw that he has a very unique approach towards life. And that got me. And I think that was 50% of what attracted me the most about him, that we kind of have similar thinking, And when talking to Steve, I saw that he is such a spiritual person that I wasn't at that time, but him talking about it made me realize that I am also spiritual in some ways. Because what does spiritual actually mean? You have your spirit, you have spirit, they're different from one another, right? But we have our own ways of dealing with it, right? So you could be spiritual in your own way, but that's subjective from person to person,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, when people ask me that, are you a religious person? I would say I'm not a religious person because I don't do any practices of any type of religion, right? I don't pray. I don't do any sort of practices of any religion. I don't believe in okay, people will say, but do you believe that you're a Hindu? I'm gonna answer saying that I think we're all human beings, and these tags which we all have, like Hindu, Muslim, blah blah blah, these are just tags that we have, which have been created by people in the olden days,
Absolutely.
and I'd like to overlook those and not get into that, because that's too much stress for me and I don't want to learn about it. I'm happy knowing that we're all human beings and we're all different from one another. That's totally fine. And we are all special in our own ways, and we should respect each other for the ways that work for us,
That's such a great way of looking at it. And you're what you're saying basically is you're not dogmatic. You have an
Yeah.
more encompassing view. When I used to go to a place called the Philosophical Research Society, and I told Steve about that when we were all hanging out, and he would go there on occasion. And there were so many different people that would come and speak there, people that would speak on Hinduism and Jung and the Tarot. And it was so interesting to just see all these different people speak about these different philosophies. But at the end of the day, you started to see that they were really so much the same, just different roads to the same place. And I love your explanation.
Yeah, I think back in the days, people wanted to take control of things. And that's why they created those communities and divisions among people and those partitions, because everybody wanted to be the leader and wanted to be able to control those people. And women being as objects, they would use them to get through them,
Yes, absolutely.
But now it doesn't work. It wouldn't work because women are too powerful and they're taking over the world. So
yes, that is true.
yeah.
And I love that that you were able to express yourself that way to your dad, that he'd raised such strong independent
yeah.
women.
And I'm saying that casually right now, but we have had massive fights in the house where I moved out of the house for that reason. And we didn't speak to each other for like a year and a half or so. But I had to prove myself because I was told certain things, and he was like, show me what you can do. But in a way, I know why he said that, because he wanted me to be strong. He wanted me to be out there and be strong where no other man can tell him the things that he told me, because that hurt me so much. But it's a harder way of upbringing. I wouldn't do that. Please don't do that. Anybody out there, any parent watching out there, don't do that. But it creates trauma. And I went through a lot of trauma and depressing time. But it definitely, there was this like fire inside me, burning fire, that I'm going to show you what I can do, And I moved out and I worked on myself, locked myself up for like so many hours, worked on myself, my ass off, to be stronger and stronger day by day, and to educate myself so much that nobody can point finger at me and tell me a thing, I can lead my life, and don't tell me how I should live, So when my dad saw that, sorry?
Oh, he inspired you to be a strong person. And then it was, and then it's
that was his motive behind, that was his motive. And then years passed by, and then now he's like so proud of me. And he said that I'm so proud of the decision that you made. And part of the reason why I told you those things was because I wanted you to be strong and I wanted you to be independent. So, yeah.
How does this work with Ihsani? I mean, you guys you do bands together, you do things, but I have to imagine that she's a person, you're a person, you're good friends, but you must also be somewhat protective, and you're going to do a band together. How does that dynamic?
We used to have a band together called Generation, and we used to play together a lot. And but she wanted different things from life, and my dad has always had this dream of having two girls, and one has to be a drummer, one has to be a bass player. Okay, so my sister actually started playing the drums first. Okay, then she didn't like it, and then she switched to guitar, and she did that for a couple of years, and she's an incredible guitar player. And she does a lot of projects for a lot of movies. But now she has opened up a thrift store where she sells her type of clothes and earrings, and she makes a lot of things, handmade things, and she sells those. And that is something she really enjoys. And I've always told her as an elder sister that do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. You don't have to do anything that somebody has told you just because it makes dad happy. You don't have to do that. So I think for the most part of our time of our life, we tried to make dad happy. And then I made my way. I mean, I guess I grew love for music, and then I became so serious that it became my life. This is the only thing I know. I cannot live without it. It became that. For my sister, she can balance two lives very well. I'm not good at that. I can only do music. That's the only thing I know. I did my 12th board exams. I never got a degree. I stopped studying. Okay, so this is the only option for me. I never had any of the other options, so I had to be good at this. But she is so good at other things too, and she's able to balance this two life where she manages her online store, but also be able to record and do these projects for movies. And she not only plays guitar, but she also plays like banjo. She plays these exotic string instruments, iktara, and all those things,
Wow.
So, and she's happy. That makes her happy. So I'm super happy. We talk almost every other day. And when I'm touring, of course, it's like I don't talk to my parents for days, but they understand because they're musicians. Touring life is so hard. Like most of the days after your gigs, you're dead. You just want to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, do you?
For me, it's like on my high heels for 3 hours. It's like, oh my God, my neck and my back, everything hurts.
Oh, well.
I after a while, I stopped wearing them. I mean, I was doing it for so long, and my back would hurt so badly. And I'd go to chiropractors and they'd say, you're standing with this giant bass for 5 hours, 4 hours, and you're on heels. You've got to stop wearing heels. Eventually, I stopped because my back hurts so bad.
And not just that, not just the balancing, but also the base weight. It's heavy. It's like almost like 8 to 9 kgs. On the neck, it takes a toll.
Oh, absolutely. Your lower back. Yeah. I'm with Michael Tobias, MTD, and he's made me a couple of smaller bases over the years. And just this
cool.
He sent me one during the pandemic. He said, I'm experimenting with this 30-inch scale, and I play a 5-string. So it's always hard to get that low B, but he sent me this one in the mail, and I just
I love that color. Purple is one of my favorite colors.
Isn't that a great one?
And what's it? This is 30.
Gorgeous.
This is 30. He also makes a 32, but the low B sounds great. It's barley.
It's amazing low B considering.
Amazing. That's so beautiful.
And I've only
been show you my bass right here.
Screaming.
So this is.
Oh, I saw you playing that one. Oh, it's beautiful.
How much does it weigh? It's a beautiful bass. Is it
gorgeous?
Heavy bass or?
No, it's not too heavy. It should be like 8 kgs. Yeah.
So it's reasonable. It's a reasonable.
Yeah. And it has LEDs. Yeah. Do you see the blue lights on top?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Just gorgeous highlights.
Oh, that helps like when the stage is blacked out and then you don't know where you are on the fretboard because you're blind. So
yes. Yes, this one also has luminescent on the top that light up.
Yeah. That's very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he also made one from Empress Wood that he's not doing anymore. But that's a ridiculously really light.
But it was full scale.
And it's full scale.
Yeah, but it was nice and light. But still.
Yeah, mine is 32 too. Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Oh, it is.
Do you harbor a penchant for teaching, or you feel like you're so self-taught that it's hard to explain some of these concepts? I mean, it seems like you're fairly at ease describing things in video stuff. Can you see yourself?
Yeah, I have a lot of students. I do Skype lessons. I have like 7 students now, and they're improving so well. I am so happy, and that's not something that I enjoy doing the most. It's too much talking, so I get tired. Let's just put it that way. And like it's the same things, if you keep on saying, it gets a little tiring. So what I do now is I space them out. I space the lessons out in such a way that it's like once a week or twice a week max, so that helps. But I teach on Skype, sometimes on Zoom.
Yeah, everybody's been doing that now, of course, because people can't get together.
I've been doing this for like 6 years now. So
Oh,
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So much nicer.
Yeah.
We'll take one more question. I know we're kind of reaching the end.
Oh, no problem. Yeah.
Someone asked, and I don't know what this means, maybe you do, trivia about AR.
Oh,
Trivia.
AR.
What is trivia?
Oh, trivia as well. Little known facts, interesting stories about your time with AR.
Okay. So there's one story that I have from one AR's gig, and I used to have like really long curly hair up till my butt. Now it's short, but I used to have long curly hair. And there was this one concert where they were shooting the whole show. There was a camera in front of me, and then there was this like GoPro stuck on the headstock, and we were performing, and I had this habit of chewing a gum back then, and somehow my hair got in the mouth and the gum just got stuck in the hair. Yeah, so then like the whole song, it was stuck and hanging. I couldn't even get it out because I was afraid that it would get stuck to my right hand and then I wouldn't be able to play, and then I'll get stuck to the string. We don't want that. So I just let it hang throughout the whole song. And then after the song got over, I kind of, took it out and then just stuck it somewhere, I guess. I don't remember. So yeah, that's a very, very funny story, because after the show got over, one of the camera people, they came to me and they said that, you were on the big LED screen and we saw that. I was like, sorry, well, I couldn't do anything about it. It was just that the audience must have thought it's a jewelry or something.
At least they got a good laugh out of it. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, he was smiling too. I was like, it's funny though. Like it was a funny moment,
It is a funny
Nobody's gonna know. It's gonna be our secret. Don't tell anyone.
Except everybody that was watching.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody noticed. Yeah.
Our musician pal in Connecticut, Dana Gordon, wants to know where do you see yourself in 5 years? What's a plan or an idea that you have for yourself?
That is a question I get every time. I always say that, I never had plans for my life. My life has been like a flowing river. I don't know what's coming up. I don't know what. I know some people are like, okay, but what's your vision in life, right? My one goal is that I want to own a place, a big place, like a land, and I want to build boundaries and have a lot of stray dogs of India there and appoint a few caretakers so they can be fed, they can be vaccinated, they can be treated well, and just provide them homes, because there are so many abandoned dogs and just stray dogs on the streets. And every time I see them, it's so painful, really. I want to take them all home. I took like one home and she's with me for a year now, and she's become my baby with my other little dog. She's like a year old and the rescue is like 4+. But this is my chow chow. I'm gonna just wait.
This is the one who was at the vet,
She's
right?
sleeping. Yeah, correct. Yeah, the chow chow. Yeah.
Oh, I have to show you ours. We always rescue them. And we just rescued Ducky.
Oh my God, look at that face. So cute. Yeah, so that's one like my goal. And the second goal is by 40 or 50, I want to be, like financially so stable that things can earn for me and I can just do my own music and choose projects that I really, really want to do, like not, I mean, I still do that. Like right now, I'm at a position where I can say that, oh, I don't want to do that project. That's not interesting to me, even though it pays a whole bunch. I don't want to do it, because it's not interesting. I'm fortunate to do that, but I know there are musicians out there who don't have work and who don't have the same opportunities that I do. And keeping that in mind, I have this one goal where in life, when I become 40, when I touch 40, 45, I want to be financially so stable that things can be taken care of without having to earn for it, like investments. I want to invest a lot, and yeah, that's the other goal. Yeah, other than that, I never had plans for my life. They just happened because of my dad, and opportunities came along because of my hard work. And I am a businesswoman by mind. I know how to deal, with the business world. I it's it's something that I really enjoy, talking to clients and managing. If I was not a musician, I could be a great manager. So I love doing managing, organizing, and stuff. And I think that's part of my success. I think, with being able to deal with a lot of work, but also organizing and managing my time slots for videos, shootings, recording sessions, and gigs, and managing calendars. All that, I've never had a manager. I've done all by myself since the age of 10. So it gets tough, but I enjoyed so much that I like the load of work.
Mhm.
So I'm
really
open
impressive.
to whatever lies in the future.
That's very
Even if it means me moving to America, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But you've got these options, and it is impressive. He was just
Yeah.
saying how impressive that is, and it is. So many people
Yeah.
can't do that, and they find that hard to manage.
so many artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Artists,
different. It's a
absolutely.
Yeah,
difficult.
you can be a great musician, but very bad at managing, and that can bring your career down.
Absolutely. There's so many great players that aren't
Yeah.
out there playing because they just can't manage that.
And that
And
was
some people are shitty players, but great at managing, and they get the most amount of work.
That's
So
so true. Absolutely.
I think of somebody
yeah.
like Jocko just had an illness, and had
Yeah.
an amazing skill set, but was just kind of a tortured individual.
I
Conversely,
mean, there was nobody like him in that era. He was the only one who played the bass like he did. It just was like he didn't need managing. We just heard him and we were all like, what? So
And
he
yeah,
was
we
like
heard
that opener.
that funny story where Joni Mitchell was looking for a bass player that would play like him, and she kept trying to get
Yeah.
the bass players to play like that. And one bass player said, "There's this weird guy in LA that you would probably like," and that's how.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're going to wind it down here, and it's a lovely opportunity for us. Like I said, just very inspiring in the way
Absolutely.
you
Well, thank
execute.
you. That's very sweet. I was so happy to be called for this, and it was a lovely conversation. I had fun.
Cass, thanks to everybody listening here at Creative Exchange today. We will have other interviews, and we'll have Mohini back at some point, hopefully before she releases another album or comes to the United States to perform, and we can talk about that. In the meantime, whatever it is you're doing, please keep doing it, because it's stunning and inspiring to the rest of us. It's really cool. Have a
Thank
great
you.
rest
Thank you
of
so
your
much.
evening and a great work evening. Stay on.